Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recap and Teachings. Late video tonight, but a lot to discuss today. I will try to go through quick because we are already late. Crazy day guys, another volatility crazy day. There's some important things to discuss today. There's the market short midday, right, inside out, the gap fill on QQQ. So we're definitely going to discuss that and discuss some big winners on some shorts today. Earning plays, news plays were mostly choppy. There are few losers we have to discuss, and then we'll discuss the big weed stock news. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll discuss some earnings analysis on AMD, SMCI, Amazon, and all that. Not going to do a introduction today. If you're new to my YouTubes, just watch my previous videos where I discuss what are these recaps and trades about, how do we create our daily game plan, what are the strategies for playing other setups, how do I provide my daily levels in the community and our Tanner trade community, and our day 2 day 3 setups and our daily game plans. So you can check those. All these trades are from my community or either ideas I share on Twitter, like today weed news that we traded, and any idea I share with you guys in previous YouTube video recaps. So you can read more about me in this in the description. And so that's it for the quick introduction. I'm gonna start with the recap of today's trades now. So let's start with the first review of our SPY QQQ today. So what was SPY QQQ doing today? So important concept on this SPY QQQ trade today is that we need to understand is about the inside day, right? So I've been talking about the inside day on SPY. So when we started the day, we were inside days where the price is between yesterday's daily candles highs and lows. So that's where the price is. So if you see here, let me show you guys, and you can so in the morning what we were doing were let's go back, all right. So inside day, right? So we were inside yesterday's action. So there was no trade, we were chopping. But then when we broke out of that inside day, that's when you think about the short. That's when you take the puts and then you short the pops, right? You short the pops. You see, as soon as inside day outbreaks, everything turns bearish. Ripster cloud turns bearish, Ripster label turned bearish, and then that it tries to bounce, bear flag breakdown, Ripster cloud is still bearish, there's no reason to go long, and then you hold it, you hold the short. And I talked about VIX strategy, right? VIX was over 15, VIX was holding that level, and then when VIX hold that level, that market is going to be punished, right? Because it's breaking out of the 15. That's something that I told everyone first thing in the morning. So these are the simple concepts which you can use. And we did try to curl some, SPY, got 50% on the calls, but it failed the curl and we got out. It failed the curl. So when it fails the curl, and you see here it failed the curl. Once it failed the curl, we closed the calls, and then it could not reclaim. The 505 seller was pretty huge. I did even mention that 505 seller is pretty big, and after that it was just a fade all day. Pretty big 505 seller, and then it was just a short. So that was the guidance in the community. So the good thing is we do not long randomly. Yes, we tried to long this curl here and we made a little bit, but then we just left it alone. We did not long it. And of course we tried to short it all day. So you can see that what we were talking about, SPY VIX strategy, the inside day. So it's clearly the system is telling you it's short. And now it's all about your entries, right? You don't chase. You either always hit the EMA cloud rejections or failures. Closer to EMA cloud you short or buy put, better is your risk reward. Same for QQQ. So that was the all day guidance on QQQ and SPY. Pretty good job on the floor by people on SPX. There was trades on SPX. We traded both sides. We traded both sides. That inside range was the key today. The lesson you learn is the inside range, the daily candle inside out, and you see there was a gap on SPY, we filled that. So that's why you stay short. There was a gap on QQQ right here, we filled that. So that was the planning, and nobody expected the big fade end of the day, frankly. You know, I was not part of that. I scalped a little bit, but some traders did trade a lot of which went like few 100%. But the point is, you know, it's a bearish trend. You know, it's a bearish trend. And when this bearish trend comes, your longs no longer work, which we will discuss. You know, there we were in some longs when market was kind of falling down. We exit that longs promptly, or we locked our profits promptly. But the key here is to understand, nobody was trying to long here. Yes, here we try to long on this setup, but we didn't lose money. It pushed long for us and we got out. We locked some and then we got out. So we don't, the beauty of things I teach or my community or my followers on Twitter, our losers are, we don't let losers go out of hand. You know, we do not let losers go out of hand. We keep always keep losers very small. Okay, so so that's what it was today. SPY QQQ short all day. If you trade with me, if you trade in our community, you know, of course we're not an alert service, but I make sure you guys, my folks, stay on the right side. They are not on the wrong side of trend. You know, we are on the voice. The point is to make sure, you know, learn the systems, the setups, you know, the tape reading. We were tape reading how the SPY is acting at 505s, right? So I continuously update the community, and so many smart traders on our trading floor. And then it was really good day to short the market, and of course volatility, right? So we'll discuss a few more. All right, I'm gonna quickly buzz through a lot of these trades that we did today. Where did my window go? 1 second here. I lost one of my windows. That's fine. I'm just gonna discuss it here. What was our April watch list? Was 30th, and let's go to Meta, right? So I was long Meta. Why was I interested in the long Meta? So we will discuss here. 1 second. So why was I interested to long Meta in the morning? So the Meta long was because this clouds, right? It was turning over the clouds. And what were our pivots? Here were the levels I gave in the morning on Meta. It was turning over our pivots, 432s, and you know, already turning over the cloud. So there was this pivot, and that's where we took long. So you will see that my live guidance on Meta. So we took it long versus the cloud. The risk was $3. If market pushes, we're gonna get pushed some, and you know, 435, 436 were my first targets. You can pause the screen, watch my live guidance, read it, and see how the price reacted, because our targets were based upon this. 440 was my target. We met that. And you see, it's the same repeatable system we play every day. Cloud curl, day 3 setup, day 3 setup, day 3 morning winner. So so that was the Meta trade, guys. You see, right? Easy trade, good push. You know, we got almost like $8 per share, nice 70-80% on the options. So, and then we got out when 512 breaks. So Meta was a beautiful winner for us. Another big winner in the community from the option side was MSTR, right? So MSTR, so let's see what was the plan on MSTR. And this is a big lesson in patience, right? In patience and how to manage your trades, it's a big lesson. So MSTR, we had, you know, MSTR was earnings. So I already had a plan to short unless it holds 1200. So we had a pre-market planning, you know, that we are gonna short it unless 1200 holds. And when I saw the weakness, I shorted it right away. Then it started to push over 120. Just to manage my risk, I got out of the short. I was still watching it, but then it rejected the 512 clouds. If you're new to my YouTube video, you do not understand EMA Cloud System, you need to go to my website, free website, go to Ripster Clouds Explained, read that, and then watch my YouTube recaps. You will understand. All right. So once it rejected the 512s, I knew that it's going to be a short now. So I re-added. Watch what I said. Short. Then I said cancel the short. Then back short. Right. I was back in the short when this candle happened. And after that, I was in 1100 puts, and I was just being patient. We hit 1150. my puts hit 35%, and somebody asked me why don't take the profit, because I know my target is 1100. Why should I just get out now when I know that I can make much more profit on that one put rather than just being impatient and getting out? All right, and so we held as long as our system holds. So we held all the way. So you see my puts went from 35, 50, 86. It ended up 140% and was a big winner for everyone, right? And then that one put was what? I don't remember the price again. You know, these are usually $2,000, $3, $1,000 puts because it's not a lotto. But the point is, if your small account, even one option will double that. Of course, you should not trade it if you're really small account. But MSTR was a great example of another option trade for a nice profitable day for us, all time stamped and all explained in front of you. System, right? It's not a rocket science. You can do that too. So another one that was short with MSTR was coin today. Again, you know, I give the levels on most of these. So coin support was 212.53. We provide these levels before the market open, and once the level was gone, I knew it was short. I said short, risk 216. So you short it and your risk is 216. So if you short it and there's a $3 risk, and look how much should you make? You know, by the end of the day you hit 202s. So that was one risk to 3 reward trade. So coin was another winner, guys. Easy trade, stress free. You see these price alerts when it started to move in my direction. I set the price alerts, which basically I moved the stops down. So that was coin, guys. Beautiful trade. So before the market tanked, we were long on NVDA and SMCI. There was a decent long. We did get some, of course. It was not a big winner. But when NVIDIA was pushing over this clouds, I told everyone we long over that. And then there was a breakout over 8880. And then we pushed to 888. And then market flushed. And that's when you cut, right? So it doesn't seem like a lot. But that was a move from 874 to 885s. So 882 breakout hold was my long, 890 was my first target. I told everybody hold unless QQQ pukes, and QQQ puked. So you have to cut it, right? When there is so much room between the EMAs, you see so much room, you have to manage your risk because it's going to pull down. So you cut it. And then when it broke out down here, I just cut it. Still a green trade, not a huge big win. But the point is we managed it well. Same one for SMCI. Initially, SMCI was great long for us. 900 breakout long was gave us 910s. Even the cloud breakout long was good. If you see the levels I provide in the morning on SMCI, 897, and then NVIDIA was 880. It was a nice breakout trade. Now, did we make good money? Not really, because it failed, but the only thing I will note here that it was at 10 a.m. right? So both of them were into 10 a.m. So by the 10 a.m., that's why you take the profits on 10 a.m. That's the reason, morning trades, 9:30, 10 a.m. trades, 9:30, 10 a.m. long winners. So that's what I call it. So that's why we have a very important rule of 10 a.m. And when market pukes, you just have to manage. Now, if you are adding here at 890, of course, you will lose a lot of money, right? So you just have to size small on these setups because especially there's no news. They're market dependent. So you have to trade accordingly. I have repeatedly said that because if there's no catalyst, no news, they will kind of move in a choppy, wicky way. Tomorrow will be fun and I will discuss that in the end. Let's go to the next one. So next, guys, we're going to look at our few shorts, right? We were short Tesla all day. I told everyone bearish under the pivots, A plus short, and you can cover some at 182.50. That's what I told them. And, use 512 as the stops. And Tesla was a short and then Amazon was short. So both were bearish all day for us. Both were super bearish all day for us. And that was my guidance. I told everyone, do not long it. And here, you don't have to listen to me. You have to see if the pivots are breaking. Pivots are breaking. 180, 180. Tesla pivot is breaking. 187.24. It's under the cloud. Means it's not a long. It's not a long. If you are longing it, maybe you have some other system. I don't know. We don't long this stuff. We never long this stuff. We save money going long into these C minus D minus setups. We do not long them. We we only short these. So I make sure I give the guidance to my folks. Most of my my traders, my community, they work with my system, they know our rules, and that's how we trade. Anyways, because Google was also a day 3 setup. Google was also a day 3 setup. Google was a day 3, and look, when there's a gap, it's always a good short. Gap, always a good short. There was a gap, always a good short. That's what our next play was, similar. So if you look at next play, which was Google, right, it was a day 3 setup. What do I teach again and again and again? That Google, remember, it made this big gap. You see this gap. When you see these kind of gaps, that's when you make money on your puts. That's when you make money on your shorts, because Google has that gap, so you make that. So let's see. You see that a lot of traders traded Google beautifully, nicely. Richa was short, and Yash was short. So many traders were short in the community because everybody's following the system. Nobody's trading it blindly. So that was a nice short Google as well. So you need to learn these setups, right? I was personally not trading Google. I was personally in the other setups. But I just want to point out you the power. When the market is puking, you see a gap, that's an A+ short setup, you take it. Google has a support at 160. We'll watch it tomorrow. So let's look at the next one. The next one was Lily. So Lily was morning long. Lily was morning long. I told everyone you can long, versus 770 risk. It pushed to 796. And then when it breaks out 512, I said exit. And then later in the day, it gave another bounce setup. This is a repeatable setup that I teach in my webinars. That was 3450 bounce. So you take that long and 34 Wingley curl. And it was not only me, it was the community. They were, Richa went long, KK, many other traders were calling that long trade. So that's the beauty of our community. And the Lily was moved, descended from this curl, 775. It was not a bad $10 move for an intraday scalp. Remember, we are not investors here. We are trying to make with a defined risk. If we are risking $100, we are trying to make $200, $300. That's what we are trying to do. And Lily gave enough opportunities. Now you don't long here. You long here, closer to the risk, and you can short here, and you can long once you see this setup, and that's what traders did. Let's look at PayPal. So PayPal was a short. It was nothing, it had a gap, B- short. Right away, I told everybody it's a short. It's still bearish. It tried to push over 3450 and just, it filled the gap. You see my 9-7 in the morning, I told everyone. And that was the plan. Bullish to neutral, gap fill under 6850. That was the plan, and it broke 6850. It filled the gap, even though it was a small one. 10-minute candles, it doesn't look like much, but you can see that gap fill was from 70 to 6850. So basically, it did what it's supposed to do. That was again a 10 a.m. trade. Nice one there. So next one we're going to look at is NXPI. So let's see what NXPI was doing. So let's discuss that. So the plan on NXPI was, the plan was gap fill under 254. If it holds that, then we will long, right? So gap fill under 254. So initially it was pushing. And I thought it's holding a strength, and so I longed it. But then it rejected with the market, and then I took a loss. I moved on. But I did tell everyone that it's under the cloud. It can fill the gap. It did fill the sum of the gap. I didn't really touch it again, but but you see that the midday fade, NXPI fade in the gap, right? Kind of a choppy. It was a choppy, not a great trade. So that was a loser for me there, because we were trying to go the long. The reason for the loser was also the market, but try to keep the loser small. Added at 258 something and just closed it when it broke this back under here for $3 loss. Coca-Cola was another one which was a loser. It was looking good in the morning, so that's why I told everybody to long versus 62. It was pushing into the flag, and then it broke down, and then had to take the stop and move on. I never do good with these some of these names. So Coca-Cola was another loser. You can see why it was a loser. When you see these kind of candles, it's very hard. Plus the market was bearish. Let's look at one of the other plays today, which was ON. ON again was a day 2 setup. So you already saw Google, Microsoft, they were all day 2s. So ON was one of my top day 2 setups. Support was 70, resistance was 70.50, and it pushed over the resistance 17.50, and ON went on to push. I did tell everybody right at open that ON is a long. Target I gave was 73, so we almost went close to the target, right? So ON was a good long at open versus the clouds, and if you were quick, you made some decent money there. And there's another one which was Baidu. So Baidu was a winner on a day 2 short. So Baidu was a day 2 short. I probably do a webinar on day 2, day 3 setup. So you see that my day 2 to day 3 strategy 106 was a support pivot. Once that is broken, it's already under it, it's unable to reclaim it, and Baidu is just a short. So you see that how we find these opportunities. And again, there's a gap here, and don't forget this is a day 2 setup, right? There was a gap from yesterday, the gap can fill, so you short it. This is a A plus day 2 setup. There were a few others. There was CCJ. So CCJ was short today from the news. 47.50 was the support. So CCJ was a short from the game plan, and it faded from 47.50 all the way to 44. That was not a bad scalp as well. There was another one from the game plan, PCAR. That was a good short too, kind of choppy. And if I go back to the game plan, then you can see it was bearish. 108 was a support. It could not reclaim 108. I personally did not trade that one, but you can see that how PCAR also was decent short there as well. All right, guys. Now let's talk about the big news of the day: the weed stocks. So you see that we had a news today that DOJ plans to reschedule marijuana as a low risk drug. Without going to in depths of the news, a lot of even the traders don't really know the full impact of it. But the point is, it sounds good. It's a good news that it won't be that dangerous. It will impact the future banking and financial help to this sector. It would make it less criminal. It's still federally illegal, but the point is, it was a bullish news, right? And I discussed in the voice that how important this news is. So we maintain a weed list which I shared with my community. I haven't tweeted about it. I'll show you a few things. So you see, we had the news live on the bot was on the voice, live on the news as well. Even I shared it, I tweeted it, and I'll show you everything here. Let me show you here. Yeah, so I told, we got this news, and I was on the voice, and we discussed CGC and ACB. So those were the two names that I was trading, and CGC. So you see that, and we are swinging it because I told everyone we might gap up, so can swing them, names like CGC. So we were on top of it, the whole day we were on top of it on the weed once the news hit. And I can show you I can tell you why I was so bullish on CGC. So let's look here, right? So you see that CGC, let's go back. What I was saying, what was the setup? So I tweeted the news as always. In our community, we are fast, we get the news before anyone. So there was a bunch of trades. Somebody was trading MSOS, somebody was trading CGC. I like CGC because there was a daily breakout. So look, I'm saying it's going for a daily pivot, and here it's breaking the daily pivot, then it's squeezing more, and now it's a gamma squeeze. Options, there's so many shorts in it, they want to cover. So I gave the 15 target, that was 14 bucks, and then we hit 15 targets, and even we are hitting more after that. I was talking about ACB as well. So everybody did really good in the community today on the weed. because we stay on the top of it. And on the news plays, you size small. You see if it holds the dips. For example, when ACB pulled back, it held the dip. Means people like the news that it can get squeezed. I was talking about the 750 calls on the voice. They went 300%. So they were like, ACB, CGC. So you need to stay on the top of the sectors. We don't really care. But we need to stay on the top of the sector. And we were all on it, and everybody was on it. See, Trader 45 was on it, and everybody was trading CGC. Everybody was trading all these stocks. It was just a crazy day. And you need, as a trader, you need to utilize this this kind of news flow for your benefit. And you need to understand how beaten down this stock is, and they can run up into the news. They can run up to the official news, probably sell the news after some run up. But when it's getting squeezed, because institutions, big funds, all are short, because from last 3 years this sector is getting destroyed. So I knew that it's not just a pop and drop, not at least today. So that's why I told everybody overnight it. And most of stuff is still gapping up, and was a big I didn't size too much, but it was a decent reward. You can see that, since I was posting about news, it was decent up. We were all over the CGC. Trader 45 was on it, Slaughter. So we really did good. So since I posted the news alert, or we got the news alert, it was like up 70%, or so crazy move there. And ABC as well. And there was some nice trades in the community on Tilray, SNDL, and just fun. Have fun. Do not size too much. The news, the FOMO. And I did tell everybody that folks are going to FOMO now, right? So they are going to FOMO in it. So a lot of lessons today here as well on the news plays. So anyways, we'll see how it continues tomorrow. We will nail it again tomorrow in the community. All right, guys, I'm just going to discuss few of the earnings. So let's look at AMD. Then we will look at Amazon. Then we'll look at SMCI. First of all, we need to look at AMD, right? So what's happening with AMD? So what's going on? AMD, the Q1 results were with the consensus, right? It was nothing let me just pull it up. So looking at AMD, their revenue was barely with consensus, but their guidance, I don't think their guidance was good. So let's see that. So their guidance was lower. So that's the problem, right? What happened to all the AI, craziness? The AI is going to make everything crazy for chips and semiconductors. What happened to that? And if you look at the year-by-year growth, April 30 this year, and let's see Q1 2023, barely any growth. It's barely grown. What is it? It's nothing. No growth. Volume, no growth. This is not a good earnings by AMD. No good guidance, no growth. What is this? 3% growth, 2% growth. It is disappointing, to say the least. And so much pump we had up to this. And I like the company. But what we are talking about here is why investors are mad. This is the reason investors are mad. So we might sell off a little bit before we buy it, right? It might cool down. We have some support levels, 145s, 137s. Of course, we never get biased, but if it starts to hold, it bounce. But I doubt it clears 150. That's a big resistance tomorrow. If it shows us strength, we will long it, never mind. But from fundamentally, you have to understand investor sentiment. They expect a lot. They expect a lot, not what we just saw. So that's why AMD is down. Most of the semiconductors have not reported good. So they are fizzling. Yes, of course, it's a natural course of the stocks. They go up, they go down. That is fine. And we might have a great opportunity to buy these stocks long term. But for now, for tomorrow, we are not looking at a good response from the market. So next one, let's look at SMCI. So what's SMCI doing? So SMCI they have a growth, so that's not a problem. So SMCI third quarter this year, that EPS growth it's solid, but it's kind of already priced in. That's a 300% EPS growth, revenue growth 200%. Consensus was higher, because that's why I'm saying it is kind of priced in. So that's why, because you know how much the stock has run up, how much it is, market cap is so high. So results are not bad, but for now what we're seeing, it's priced in. I would definitely buy SMCI. We maybe 700 is a good support. So it's not that as bad as AMD, but it's still taking a hit, and they did raise the revenue outlook after earnings beat. So we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. But fundamentally, the earnings are not really that bad. Their earnings are good. So let's look at Amazon. Amazon has quarter one has an outstanding earning. I mean, look at this EPS growth. Look at the revenue growth, right? The only problem here is the guidance. I think they lowered the guidance. That's the only problem. And guidance miss is a problem. Otherwise, the earnings are outstanding. Now, because of the guidance, that's why they sold off, because market expected more. Market expects more. And that's why we did not sell off too much, because earnings are not that bad. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, guys. Gap is filling. Right now it's bearish. If it reclaims, then we will revisit that. Anyways, thank you, guys. If you want to trade with us, join the community. Link in the description. Don't come for the alerts. Come for a family of traders. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.